Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Andy Blanks again. It's morning here where I'm shooting this at our Iron Hill Press YM360 offices. I wanted to just give you a brief word, some encouragement from an unlikely source, from a person, a character in Scripture that most of us have probably never heard of. And this guy, and what little we know about him, what we know is he lived a life of influence, a life that mattered, a life of impact, which is what I hope you want for you, certainly what I want for myself. This is a guy named Tychicus, Tychicus, Tychicus. He's only mentioned 6 times in the New Testament. So unless you're a close reader, you may not have ever heard of him before. Tychicus was, again, mentioned 6 times, and what we learn in those times is that he played an important role in the Apostle Paul's ministry. He was with Paul in Acts 20. His name is in a list of people who are with Paul on one of his missionary journeys. The cool fact about our boy Tychicus is that he was a letter bearer for Paul. He actually carried a couple of the letters that Paul wrote to churches. He was entrusted with that. And of course, we know those letters actually ended up being the scripture that we read. And so it's a pretty big task, right? We see something about Tychicus in 2 places, Colossians and Ephesians. Paul writes. He gives like this little sentence about Tychicus where we see something pretty cool. I'm going to read that. This in Colossians 4:7. And listen to what he says about this guy who, again, kind of a nameless guy, right? Not a hero of the faith. Listen to what Paul says about Tychicus. He says in Colossians 4:7, Tychicus will tell you all about my activities. Check this out. He is a beloved brother, a faithful minister, and a fellow servant of the Lord. Let me just ask you a question. If the Apostle Paul described you that way, you'd have to be some kind of guy, right? A beloved brother. How did Tychicus become a beloved brother to Paul? Well, they traveled together, did life together. They went through trials together. They went through tough times. They were on the road together, talking, probably sleeping in close proximity to one another, eating together, doing life together. Paul could look at this guy and say, man, he's a beloved brother to me. I don't know about you, but I don't know if there's much more that I would want to be called a beloved brother to a guy like the Apostle Paul. Quick question for you. Are there people in your life who could say that about you? Are there people in your life who could look to you and say, man, this guy is a beloved brother? He's somebody who's been through the fire with me, somebody who's walked through life with me. I know there are people in my life that I could say that about. I'm thinking of friends right now that I could say, that guy's a beloved brother, man. I could ask that guy for anything. I hope there's people who could say that about me. And I hope that you will see that as a challenge. Who in your life, if you don't have somebody in your life that you can look to, that you can call that, say that about, they can say that about you, man. Make that a challenge. Make that something that you're going to improve on, that you're going to be a better friend. You're going to invest more deeply in friendship so that somebody can say, your beloved brother. What else did Paul say about Tychicus? He said he was a faithful minister. Man, a faithful minister. The neat thing about the Greek language here is that there's 2 meanings to this. Not only could Paul look at Tychicus and say he was a faithful minister to others, but what Paul's implying here is that Tychicus was a faithful minister to Paul. Again, I wish that somebody could say that about me. I hope you wish that somebody could say that about you, that is somebody who's living their life for the Lord and making a kingdom difference and ministering, not even just vocationally, but just in everyday life, that they would look at me and count me as a faithful minister right alongside them. How faithful are you every day in influencing the world around you for Christ? That's your ministry. Whether you're a vocational minister or whether you're a mechanic or a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher, whatever. Are you a faithful minister? Or the people around you look at you and say, man, that guy lives it out. He lives out what he believes. He is on mission for God. I hope that that's something you strive for. I know it's a challenge for me. Finally, the last thing we see, and this is so cool, Paul says that Tychicus is a fellow servant in the Lord. See, a servant was Paul's favorite way of describing himself. He describes himself over and over again as a servant of the Lord. For Paul to be able to look at a guy like Tychicus, a normal guy, right? An unheralded sort of also ran in the Bible, right? No big hero of the faith. Paul could look at this guy and say, man, he is a fellow servant of the Lord. I see myself as a servant of God. This guy also is a servant of the Lord. What a thing to be able to say about a guy. Are you sold out to Christ? Is your life, are you living your life as if in full knowledge of the fact that Jesus bought your life? He paid for you the price. Are you living that way? Who around you is also living that way? Who can you look at and say, man, this guy's a fellow servant for the Lord? High calling, right? A high challenge from this relatively unknown guy from the Bible, a beloved brother, right? A faithful servant, a faithful minister, and a fellow servant. As men, as we live our lives every day, as we try to be good husbands and fathers and friends and sons, and let Tychicus be a guy that we look to and say, I'm going to emulate his life. I want those same things to be true about me as well. Hey, listen, we're thankful for you. I'm thankful that you're serious about your faith and that you're living your life to try to make an impact for the kingdom, okay? Hang in there. Stay strong. I know these times are a little crazy. If we can do anything for you, please don't hesitate to let us know. Have a great day.